And honestly, it might have been better for Pi Network not to be listed on Binance, because had they given Binance all these tokens, their price might be 10 times lower than it is right now. I mean, we've seen that same pattern break out over and over and over again on Binance.
Hello, everyone. We are back with another podcast, and we have a very special guest today. We have Youssef from No One's, a P2P trading platform where you can buy a lot of the mainstream cryptos with over 500 different payment methods. And we're going to talk about something very interesting today, Pi Network. Ray, how are you?
Good, brother. Great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. Oh, well, as you know, over the past year, we, BN Crypto, have been covering Pi Network and all the associated news and price movements quite extensively, which has fortunately led us to become the largest market share of voice for pioneers and Pi Network. So it's a very special achievement that we take it to heart, and we want to discuss some of the concerns, some of the developments that's been happening with this emerging and, should I say, unclear or controversial project.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
Amazing. So let's get started. Ray, so Pi is unique in a sense that it lets you do mining through a mobile app, something that we haven't really seen with other mainstream cryptos, at least not for the ones that have billions in market cap. So is this a viable model, do you think? And why? What do you think about this model, basically?
Yeah, so I don't know too much about the technical aspects of Pi Network. But what I do know is what people tell me and what I see. And what I see is success. The fact that we're having this conversation is indicative of success, as in traction. These guys are not a new project. I think they launched like 8 years ago or something like that. But recently, they've picked up tremendous traction, especially in places like Africa. One of the top traders, P2P traders on No One's in Ghana, a guy named Mufti, amazing trader, he started telling me, you know what, Ray? You should add Pi Network because, a lot of Africans, especially like a year ago, were looking for a place. They started mining Pi on their phones. Everyone was telling their friends about it and referring people on it. And they were looking for a place where they could actually swap and cash out their Pi tokens, but no exchanges supported it. Turns out OKX was the only one at the time, so they picked up significant, African volume because of that. And that's a great piece of alpha for all of us people that run exchanges. What communities are getting the traction? So obviously the Pi community is extremely animated, and they've succeeded in that. And that's worth studying. We absolutely have to study how they did that. Not just that you can mine on a mobile application, but the mechanics of the referral program and just their general messaging. So there's a lot to learn from Pi Network in terms of success. They obviously cracked some code there, and that should be respected.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a new innovation that we haven't seen in other projects. It's definitely commendable to that extent. You're so right that I had a friend literally last month who came up to me and said, "I hold PiCoin. I downloaded this app in 2021 during COVID, and I hold some PiCoin. What do I do with it?" And he has no idea about crypto. So they've done something to reach the people that have no idea about crypto. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially in places like Africa, everyone's looking for a way to earn even just a little bit, where, over 60% of the youth are unemployed and have no prospects for a job, whether they have a degree or not. $25 a month goes a long way. Being able to, mine it on your phone with an app is actually an amazing achievement. And it's been staring us right in the face this whole time. But people are still too focused on the technicalities and forgetting the real driver of innovation, which is human adoption.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get down some of the critics of Pi. We've seen some of the biggest crypto leaders even call it pyramid scheme, MLM, scam. There's a lot of criticism. What do you think about that? What's your personal opinion, and what do you think? Is there any accountability from the Pi team to address that?
Yeah, well, I don't know who the Pi team is. I think they've chosen to stay in the shadows, which, in my opinion, is a mistake. That doesn't show trust. Like me as a CEO of No One's, I share my entire CEO dashboard with the whole world. That's the level that we should take transparency to. In the blockchain business was all about transparency. So I definitely think they made a mistake by not revealing themselves and not being, forthcoming with their community. I mean, even CZ had a stutter, right? But he still came out there and put himself out there. That takes courage and that builds trust. So I actually think that's their main fault right now, and that holds them back. As far as, Pi as a pyramid scheme, this is a common trope that people always use. So, having mechanics that go multiple levels down is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually quite smart. The issue comes in is there work being done? Or are you just paying off, the old users with the incoming new users? Then it becomes cannibalistic. Then it becomes a crime because that money doesn't exist. No work was actually done. But if it's done right, if there's actual work being done, then it's legit. Then you could say it's brilliant and it works. Look at Avon. The Avon ladies selling makeup in all over the world. This company spends nothing on marketing. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. They have a real business model, and they have used pyramid mechanics, but it's not a scam. So you can use pyramid mechanics without it being a scam. The only question is work being done? Proof of work. And the work doesn't have to be ASIC or SHA 256 miners crunching numbers and trying to guess a big old password. It can be humans doing work as well, but the work must be done. So if that what's happening on Pi, if it actually constitutes a valid type of work, I can't say. I don't know enough about the project, but we have to be very careful when throwing around the term pyramid scheme.
That's true. Is the model that really is the proof of work concept that really is important. What you've achieved.
Yeah, like for example, I'm sorry, continue. Yeah, for example, on No Ones, we have, a referral program that goes 3 levels down. So you bring in someone, you get, 25%. They bring in people, you get 15% of that. Those people bring in people, you get 10% of that. All adds up to 50%, and you're incentivized. But the fees are not coming from thin air. They're coming from the escrow fees that we charge. So we're sharing 50% of our escrow fees back with our community. So we use pyramid mechanics, but the money's actually there. The work is actually there. It's perfectly legitimate. So, we need to understand the difference between a pyramid scheme and a marketing system or referral system that uses pyramid mechanics. Very fine line.
That's true, because I think it's not just Pi Network, and I think you've mentioned you use it at No One's similar referral model, and I think a lot of crypto projects, like several, they use it, and the money's not coming out of thin air. That's the main thing. As long as that's there, there's transparency there. That's important. So let's talk a bit about the Pi coins kind of market movements. And as a crypto expert yourself, it's gone in the opposite direction of how the conventional market moves, right? So whenever there's a big development in a blockchain network, there's some progress, the price usually follows that. We've seen with Ethereum. I know Ethereum's the top of the bug, but we've seen it with Ethereum. We've seen it in the early days of Solana. We've seen it with BNB. Pi Network, they've done some tangible upgrades, especially in the last Pi 2 day, where Pi App Studio have launched. They've reached out to specific retailers. They've done some developments, but the price is like right now nearing all-time low. So the price has moved in the other direction. Why do you think that is?
Well, because so it's 2 very different things to being able to cultivate and nurture and grow a community, and then cultivate, nurture, and grow a developer base, right? That's one of the things that Ethereum did very, very well. They got a bunch of developers on there. Why? Because he had frontman Vitalik, super nerdy dude that looks like he needs a sandwich real bad, but traveled the world, and he courted all these developers, right? And when you bring in the developers, people have to understand in the blockchain world, the developers are like the safety net for your price. If you're going to IPO on Wall Street, you get Goldman Sachs to underwrite your stock, and they'll protect the price, right? That's why they charge all that money and take all your stock. In the blockchain world, it's the developers that actually do that. And Pi didn't seem to be able to cultivate the developers. Maybe, again, because their, founders weren't public. Maybe because, the structure of the project isn't enticing to developers. Maybe it's hard to work with on the coding side. I can't, say for sure. But if they were public with their presence and did more to court developers, it would go a very long way to protecting their price. Because the developers, when something big happens, the developers are the ones that talk about it. They start putting the buzz online, like they're the shock troops, the ground street team that really lets people know, like, hey, this is a massive upgrade, everybody. Like, this is very real. Because those Ghanaians and Nigerians and Kenyans and Argentinians and Brazilians that are using mining the Pi in their app, and okay, you just did a significant upgrade to your main net, and you added ZK Snarks. They don't know what the hell ZK Snarks is. They're just there to mine the Pi coin on their app and hoping to cash it out somewhere for a few extra bucks. They can't carry the message. They don't have that kind of knowledge, and they can't convey that kind of value. But developers can, and that's why I think their price has not held up, because they succeeded on the retail side, which is amazing, but the developer stable is thin.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think
Makes sense, right?
makes sense. Yeah, completely makes sense. And I think that's been the case with several other tokens as well. We've seen some pretty good network projects developments, but there hasn't been enough to drive the retail buyers, trust, credibility, and that's really impacted their market movements as well. I think that
Yeah, that's a big, and there's another thing too, and this is just product market fit, right? Like, whenever you launch any project, I've done, like 14 startups in my life over 25 years. Product market fit is like the holy grail. Put up a website. Okay, who does this serve? And Ethereum, when they first launched, they didn't know that the product market fit was going to be tokenization. It was just a bunch of dudes saying, "Yeah, you can do everything. It's this world computer, bro, and let's try it out, man." And they put it out there, and they thought, it's funny. One of my good friends, Amir Taki, he's one of the original Bitcoin developers. He was telling me a story about the first meeting he had with the Ethereum founders, and they were like, "Yeah, we want you to come on board," and this and that. And he asked them a very simple question: "What can I do with this?" And their answer was everything. He was like, "Okay, hold on a second. What can I actually do? Give me one use case." And they were like, "Oh yeah, well, if you get married, you can." It's actually, they said this: "If you get married, you can put your marriage certificate on the blockchain." And he was like, "Why the hell would I want to do that?" Come on, this guy is a hardcore libertarian anarchist. They didn't know what their PMF was going to be. They didn't foresee there was going to be tokenization. And I don't think the Pi guys know either, but it's, again, very similar to when Ethereum launched. But there's a lot of competition now. There's still Ethereum with the bulk of the market share. There's Solana, which is rapidly gaining market share everywhere. Honestly, for tokenization, it has taken over. There's all these launch pads being built on Solana now. So, Pi Network, if they really want to differentiate themselves, they have to, if they're cultivating developers, they have to start building apps themselves that actually, do something, that serve a particular product market fit and kind of guide the developers in that direction. Maybe it's tokenization, but they got some stiff competition there. It could be escrow, was the only other killer app we have in crypto now besides tokenization's escrow. That's what no one's does, right? And that helps enable means of exchange, which is still the biggest problem in the world, and why Bitcoin and blockchains were really invented. It wasn't invented, for people to create new tokens and put their marriage certificate on the blockchain. But that's a very dicey topic. So again, if you're an entrepreneur and you come up with any project, a blockchain or otherwise, it's all about that PMF. And, they're the ones that have to lead the pack, and they haven't done that from what I can see.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And I think that kind of leads me to my next question, which is exchange listing. So, for as big as Pi Network has been, it has been, controversially true, but it has been quite big. Probably, I know right now we're saying Pum.Fun token is kind of the biggest ICO, the biggest launch of 2025, as for now. But before that, it was Pi Network. The launch was, the biggest thing talked about in crypto for in the last year. Binance users voted, I think 85% voted for it to be listed on the exchange. It was kind of Binance's first, mainstream community vote. Still, it hasn't been listed. What do you think was the reason? Is the reason for that, and why has Binance has a track record of listing like lower cap tokens with low engagement? But what's been the kind of hurdle for Pinet?
To be frank, and I think it's time to be frank. Look, Binance really changed after CZ left. The U.S. government pretty much controls Binance. Like, last year I broke the story that Binance had been seizing the accounts and money of Palestinians, right, and anyone with a Muslim name, actually, and referring them to the IDF. That's what happens when, Uncle Sam takes over your company. Binance P2P, which CZ copied from me, and when I would refuse to sell my old company, the first thing they did when America took over was they disabled Pan-African trade on their P2P. So Africans from Kenya can only trade with Kenyans, and Nigerians can only trade with Nigerians, Egyptians with Egyptians. These are really bad moves. All the KYC and extra stuff, it shows that clearly it's in the hands of someone else. And one of the things that they've done is since CZ left, is they refuse to list good projects and they will list complete and utter rubbish, as in total scams. And the only question is why. And it's simple. I have a lot of inside information, but it's pretty simple for anyone with eyes to see. Pi Network didn't want to give them what they wanted, whether it was a big listing fee or huge amounts of Pi Network, a Pi token. They didn't do that because, they see what happens when these smaller coins get on Binance, Binance spot. It's often the kiss of death. And it's the kiss of death because Binance themselves will literally rug and dump the tokens on everyone right away. They do not have a long-term perspective. Literally all the people that are running Binance right now are just trying to extract maximum value out of the ecosystem, very similar to what Pump.Fund did. And that's what happens when the founder leaves. Then it's just a bunch of middle managers trying to suck all the money out. Hey, you're not going to give us, 50% of your token supply. Well, we're not going to list you. We're going to list these shitty ass coins here and nuke them whenever we want. If they clearly divide the community, but they don't care about the community. And honestly, it might have been better for Pi Network not to be listed on Binance, because had they given Binance all these tokens, their price might be 10 times lower than it is right now. I mean, we've seen that same pattern break out over and over and over again on Binance. A Binance, listing is not the gold standard anymore. More often than not, it's the kiss of death. Maybe they're better off.
Yeah. No, yeah, I understand that, because and that's the conversation we've been having on the analyst side, that is Binance listing really needed for a token to get that legitimacy? And might argue that it might not be needed for some tokens right now, because there's a lot more mainstream things happening out there. Yeah. What do you think? Look, do you think in the future, it does any, not just Pi Network, but any new projects? Is Binance listing used to be like that, seal of legitimacy previously. So any project, is that becoming something, not relevant for future projects?
Yeah, I mean, for future projects, Binance is not going to be on the table anymore. Because look, this industry, let me give you a brief synopsis of the history of tokenization. And by the way, I'm just making it clear, I was a Bitcoin maxi for the first, 9 years in this space. And then I saw, BlackRock took over Bitcoin. And I said, okay, forget that. But I basically didn't want to deal with anything else because I saw that most ICOs were scam. And I thought most people would lose their money with tokenization. And, I said no to a lot of big money for that because I don't want to see people get scammed. But now, looking at the space, and Bitcoin has now been hijacked, and I look at tokenization with fresh eyes, it's not going anywhere. It's still 95% of the volume and energy of this space. All the other stuff like escrow and P2P is less than 5%, but it's actually the more important part. So the first run here, Ethereum came out with ICOs. CZ launched an ICO. Oh, wow, this works. Then he, made Binance a launch pad for ICOs, and their spot was the only one up with no KYC, and they blew up. And that's what made Binance. That's where their traction came from. And CZ wrote it hard. And a lot of people made money, and a lot more people lost money, but still, it was a free market. The whole tokenization blew up because of that. Then Uncle Sam got CZ out of the picture. He's not even allowed to talk about tokens right now. That was part of his plea deal, right? And then Pump.Fund came over and took over. And they sucked even more value out. I mean, they didn't make as much as CZ, but they were even unhealthier about it than Binance was. They just sucked everything out. And now all the degens are broke. Degens, we're lucky to have $50 to their name right now. We would have an altcoin season if it wasn't for Pump.Fund. But when you look at Pump.Fund, and it's like, how did this work? Why did he do? It's a nearly perfect product. In extreme simplicity, you can create a token with a single click. There's simple metrics to go to graduate and get on Radium or whatever it is. And it worked. But the only problem was the only way the developer or creator of the token could make money is by rugging. And then it just turned into a race for the bottom where everyone's running sniping bots, seeing what this developer is doing and we need to rug right before he rugs. And it just became a sniping, rugging game. And that's what, they extracted $300 million out of that. And then they try to make up for it with this token. They're literally the biggest scammers in the space. They destroyed altcoin season. So where we're at right now, I've come to the realization that the best way for a community to align incentives, the very best way humanity has, is through tokenization. So this is not going away. We have to do it right. So I actually have a new project that I'm starting soon to do tokenization the right way, because you have a spectrum, right? Over here, you've got pump.fun, right? If you have a meme coin and you didn't even bother making an image for it, you just put a picture of your dog's butt, 18,000 of these a day, people shooting themselves in the ass, this is what pump.fun does. This is all the way on the left side. And all the way on the right side, you have Binance and the gold premium of their listing. You have to pay $2 million. You have to give us 30 to 50% of your token supply. And we could rug you anytime, or we probably will, but where else are you going to go? Right? And what about all this in between? There's so many more projects, real projects out there that could benefit from tokenization done in a smart way, that are not necessarily a meme coin, that don't have the extreme resources to be able to afford a Binance listing, and probably can't risk their price getting nuked, because the people running Binance right now, have straw hands. They're basically the biggest rugsters in the space. So whether you're a gamer, an influencer, a political activist running a factory, just looking to start a new project like DarkFi, for example, which is one of the best, it is the best project in the space with the smartest, most driven people. These guys are like, okay, we can't go to Pump.Fun. And Binance wants an arm and a leg, and they're probably going to fuck our price too. So where are we going to go? There's this huge space in the middle where someone needs to serve tokenization. And it should benefit the people that have the project. It should benefit the fans or the people that follow the project. It should be able to invest in it. Their incentives should be aligned. And there should also be something nice for the DJs to do with their last $50. Like, here's a curated list of winners, not just, this rubbish, 18,000 rubbish coins a day. And that's what I'm starting. So I'll let you guys know about that project. I consider myself probably the only man you can really trust in this space. So the war chief has to come to save the trenches, because if someone like me doesn't come and do it, it's going to be another race to the bottom again. And that's destroying crypto. Because people will come in and think, "Wait, what do I invest in?" And, they'll go to Pump.Fun, get scanned, and then just never come back again. So we have to protect and do right by tokenization now. Long answer, brother, but thank you for listening.
No, amazing. That's what we love here. But yeah, look, can't wait to hear about a new project. Definitely, we'll cross that bridge very soon. But yeah, I can't agree with you more in that sense that we do need more players in this space to serve the middlemans. Regardless of what each pros are doing, more players means it's not heavily centralized towards any party. So that's definitely, in a simple terms, what we need, and definitely the industry needs more of those. I think this was a brilliant discussion, not just Pi Network, but the whole tokenization aspect of thing. I loved it. Any last things you want to say, not just to pioneers, but people who are looking for some kind of developers to Pi Network? Where might the future lead to, and any advice particularly for people invested in this project?
For people in Pi Network, I don't really have much advice. I mean, I don't know about Pi Network that much, but just everyone in this space in general. I'm addressing all of creation right now, all as humans, right, that are interested in a better life for us and our children. We're going into the end game right now. And, I'm a Muslim, you're a Muslim. So to anyone that actually believes in God and is not just out for a quick buck, who wants a better life and to pick up civilization, blockchain technology is one of the best, tools in our toolkit here. And not just for speculation either. Like, we have to get the tokenization right, because that could lead us to a brand new securities market. And securities are the biggest business in the world. And previously, it's been owned by Goldman Sachs and Wall Street, and they've kept their firewall up, and they've tried to keep everyone else from doing it right. The Howey test, which determines what's a security or not, is 79 years old to this day, and they're still using this outdated legislation that came from the Great Depression, which was something that they created to get us into another war, to basically suppress the worldwide securities market. There are all these amazing projects out there, whether it's a factory in Burkina Faso, or, a shoe project here, or a crypto project like DarkFi, that need fundraising. And there's all, people who are not, accredited investors with at least $2 million in assets that want to take their $25 and put it into something that can actually return value and help humanity. This is a great need that we have now as humans, and blockchain technology is all we have to do this, except, no one has done it right. We've let about a bunch of bottom feeders, take control of the narrative. And that we have to take that back. So to everyone else out there who's listening, especially if you're a believer in God, especially if you're a Muslim, we need to start moving. We need to start coming out with our own versions of Google, of Binance, of Tesla, of Apple, of everything. Why? Because we have to. And we can do it. And we must do it. If you're listening to this right now, you're listening to me. I'm not one of those guys that just chose to, hey, I'm going to sit back and wait for the clock to run out and hopefully maybe I'll go to heaven. I don't want to be in heaven with a bunch of losers that gave up. We have to be strong. We have to be warriors. We have to fight this thing out. And that means trusting and respecting ourselves as a community and building ferociously, building to create wealth and things that will actually push our narrative. Because our trial over the next 5 to 20 years is massive, brother. We have to take back the financial pillar and the media pillar all at the same time. And we have to replace the entire tech stack underneath, because we're entering a period of war right now. And these bad guys can just turn the switch off on AWS or Cloudflare or whatever services they control. So we have a lot of work to do. But the reward will be peace on earth, and that's worth everything, brother. So follow me, follow the war chief. I've got a lot more now. Let's keep it real.
Amazing. Peace on earth. That's what it matters. So yeah, thank you so much, Ray. This was an amazing interview, and thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule to talk to us. And we can't wait to talk in the future again about something different. And yeah, thank you so much. Oh well, thank you guys for listening. And yeah, stay